From the perspective of plants and trees, lions and hyenas are their protectors and saviors, while herbivores are evil creatures. Have you ever been in a room where people argue just to be heard, where no one's actually listening, just yelling louder than the last voice? That's where most people stay. The Sigma male doesn't. The Sigma doesn't waste time trying to be understood by people who can't even hear themselves. He doesn't engage in emotional tug-of-war. He doesn't try to fix conversations that were never built on truth. He doesn't pause to rewrite history with people who've already decided their version. While others beg for closure, beg to be right, beg to be forgiven, the Sigma writes one sentence across every toxic chapter: exit. No peace treaties, no reconciliations, no final meeting to talk things out. When the noise gets too loud, the Sigma male doesn't raise his voice. He walks away and takes all his energy with him. In this video, we will explore 10 reasons Sigma males don't negotiate with noise. They don't clean messes they didn't create. They just walk in the silence afterward. That's the message. 1. Silence is the sharpest sword. The Sigma doesn't use noise to prove power. He uses silence, not as a passive move, but as a scalpel surgical, deliberate, final. While the world shouts for attention, the Sigma creates tension just by withholding response. His silence makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to sit with their own reflection. They start questioning themselves. That's power. Most people talk to avoid accountability. The Sigma listens and then leaves. He doesn't argue with broken logic or wounded pride. He just exits, and that silence, it's a judgment in itself. Silence, in a Sigma's world, isn't a pause. It's a verdict. And once it drops, you realize too late. The conversation was already over. 2. Arguing is the language of the lost. Arguments aren't battles, they're symptoms. They're a sign that someone has no other tool but noise. Most people argue not to find truth, but to protect ego. They defend lies, chase applause, and swing emotionally just to avoid the sting of self-awareness. The Sigma sees this. He knows arguing is rarely about the issue. It's about validation. He doesn't see a shouting match as conflict. He sees it as desperation, and he refuses to participate in another man's unraveling. The Sigma understands that truth doesn't require debate. It only requires action. So while others rant, explain, scream, and plead, he steps out. Because he's not here to convert the lost. He's here to leave them behind. 3. He doesn't explain the exit, because the exit is the explanation. They always want one last word, one last text, one last sit down to process everything. But the Sigma knows that final talk is just bait. People don't want clarity, they want access. He doesn't owe closure to anyone who mistook his silence for weakness. He doesn't unpack himself for people who never tried to understand him in the first place. The Sigma's exit isn't a mystery, it's a mirror. And if you don't understand it, it means it wasn't for you. His absence says what your ears never could hear. You lost the chance to hear him while he was still here. 4. He's not there to win, he's there to leave. Winning is for men still trying to prove something. The Sigma doesn't argue to win, he leaves to evolve. He's not interested in winning petty fights with people who never respected the truth. He's not staying to outwit liars or outtalk the loud. He's playing a bigger game, the one where he levels up by walking away, not digging in. The people left shouting into the vacuum don't realize they already lost. Because the second he left the room, the battle ended. And he didn't lose, he just stopped caring. 5. The more you argue, the more you anchor yourself. Every reply is a hook. Every emotional response is a leash. Every time you try to defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you bind yourself tighter to their chaos. It's a trap disguised as dialogue because they don't want clarity, they want control. And once you start explaining, you've already lost your footing. The Sigma male knows better. He understands that energy is currency, and arguments are black holes that never pay back. Every word you spend trying to convince someone who's already decided against you is a debt you'll never collect. He sees arguing as entrapment, as energy theft, as manipulation dressed in urgency, and worse, it's addictive. The drama, the bait, the emotional loop. Most men get hooked trying to win a conversation that was rigged to go nowhere. So he disconnects. Quietly, ruthlessly, entirely. No dramatic exits. No last-ditch points. Just a silence so absolute it forces everyone else to face themselves without distraction. Because the man who stops responding first wins the most. Not just the argument, but his freedom. 6. Closure is a luxury he doesn't need. Closure is a fairy tale sold to people addicted to loops. People who think one more conversation will finally fix what they never had the courage to walk away from. The Sigma male doesn't need a breakdown talk. He doesn't crave the final word. He doesn't sit across the table from the very person who broke him, hoping for a half-hearted apology. He knows real closure isn't a handshake. It's a door slammed shut from the inside. His healing doesn't come from external validation. It comes from internal clarity. He doesn't wait for an answer from someone who distorted every truth that got him here. He doesn't need the person who caused the wound to confirm it existed. So while others recycle the same fights, revisit the same wounds, and rehearse the same empty apologies, he cuts the loop completely. Because closure doesn't live in chaos. It doesn't show up when they finally understand. It happens the moment he decides it's done. Closure isn't found in conversation. It's found in completion when he walks away and never returns, not even in thought. 7. He knows that loud rooms build weak decisions. Emotionally charged rooms produce bad outcomes. People yell over each other, not to resolve, but to overpower. Logic suffocates. Truth becomes irrelevant. And all that's left is chaos wearing the mask of conversation. The Sigma doesn't just avoid arguments, he avoids atmospheres that dilute his logic. He can smell it the moment he walks in. The energy's off, the volume's up, and clarity gone. He's not there to play tug of war with blind emotion. He's there to assess, think, decide. But when a room is buzzing with reactive energy and ego battles, there's no space for that. So he scans the exits, quietly, cleanly, without drama. Not because he's scared, but because clarity doesn't scream. It whispers. And if he can't hear that whisper, it means the room isn't worth staying in. He trusts his instinct. If the atmosphere fogs his thinking, he doesn't wait for it to clear. He clears himself out. Because the man who keeps his head clear while others lose theirs, that's the man who always ends up ahead. 8. He won't be pulled into the circus. He doesn't engage in drama, gossip, or low-level manipulation. He doesn't need to win a crowd. He doesn't perform for the emotionally unstable. He sees it for what it is, a circus. And he doesn't belong under the tent. So when the clowns start yelling, the Sigma walks. He refuses to throw logic at delusion. He refuses to educate people who weaponize misunderstanding. He exits. And when he does, the entire circus deflates because he was the only one holding it together. 9. Noise is a distraction from the mission. Every minute in conflict is a minute stolen from your craft. Every argument pulls your hands off the work. Every emotional entanglement delays the next version of you. The Sigma is focused. He has a mission. And noise is the one thing that can derail it. So he treats noise like a sniper treats a threat one shot. No hesitation. Remove, block, silence, move on. He doesn't feed distractions, he erases them. Because greatness isn't loud, it's quiet, and focus is its fuel. 10. His exit is a reset, not a retreat. Most people think walking away means you lost, but the Sigma male knows better. His exit isn't surrender, it's sacrifice of what's small to build what's bigger. He leaves because staying costs him too much. Energy, clarity, direction. And when he exits, he doesn't fall apart, he rebuilds. Stronger, sharper, colder. Because the Sigma doesn't run from battles. He ends wars no longer worth fighting. And when he does, what he creates next is always too far ahead for the people who once tried to hold him back. On a final note, the Sigma male's life is built on momentum, not maintenance. He's not here to rescue damaged dynamics. He's not here to educate people who chose delusion over discipline. He's here to move, to evolve, to become. And every time the world tries to pull him into noise, chaos or unnecessary conflict, he responds with the only thing that ever ends the argument: distance. Because in a world addicted to shouting, the man who exits in silence becomes the one voice no one can ignore. No peace treaties, just exits. That's the Sigma standard.